What's going on, everyone? Jeremy here from the Quartering. What is going on with Cyberpunk 2077? I've been seeing all sorts of rumors swirl from financial troubles to other sorts of issues inside the development house, and I've also seen Schreier at Kotaku kind of allude to another upcoming piece on crunch in the games industry. And I want to start off by saying I think I need to dedicate an entire video. I need to dedicate an entire video to my opinions on crunch because they continue to waffle. You know, of course I want developers to be treated well. Of course I want people to treat other people well in general. This isn't just in the games development industry, but it's in really any work environment and in really everyday normal interactions, right? But I'm starting to get desensitized to these crunch outrage pieces, which I assume Kotaku is going to publish in the next week on CD Projekt Red, as it always seems like it's 3 or 4 people at a company who will say this out of thousands of employees, and then these outlets seem to use that to paint the entire company as if everyone is under those same work conditions and everybody's unhappy. We saw this with Riot Games walkout. Everyone was like, whoa, so woke. Look at all these employees walking out. Well, Riot Games right now, I'm by my estimates, has between 2,500 and 3,000 employees. And the conservative estimates of the people that walked out last week or 2 weeks ago for Riot Games were like less than 100. So I'm starting to wonder how many of these people's coworkers really disagree with them and how many of these people's coworkers are really upset. Now, articles started coming out denying financial troubles. Cyberpunk 2077, crunch will be more humane. I would thought it was curious that they were denying financial troubles because I hadn't heard anything of any financial troubles at all. But then I saw late Friday afternoon, which is generally when these kind of like hit pieces drop. The reason they do this late on Fridays is because it festers all weekend. This is deliberate, and it is a deliberate attempt to garner negative attention for people to ride out the entire weekend before most companies' PR departments can even reply on Monday. Now, that isn't to discredit anything Schreier said in this report, but it is to point out that there is a reason that these type of articles are published at the end of day on Friday. So we had an article from Schreier saying, as Cyberpunk 2077 development intensifies, CDPR pledges to be more humane to its workers. Okay, fine. I mean, good. Footage for the upcoming role-playing game, Cyberpunk 2077, has blown away fans so far, being coupled with the hype as burning question, are workers at CD Projekt Red, the Polish studio behind the game, ruining their lives to make it? I don't think many people are asking these questions. The developer best known for the Witcher series has cultivated a reputation for crunch. Here's how, and I'm curious what you will have to say in the comment section down below, but I just don't necessarily buy into this crunch stuff anymore. It just seems like a reality. It seems like everybody who works in games development will have long periods of time where they work many hours. That's just the environment. I'm not sure that you could call it crunch anymore because crunch kind of implies a down period when it doesn't really seem like there is that in this industry. But studio management now tells Kotaku they want to improve their work-life balance even if they continue to feel that crunch is a necessity. We've known, let's be humble for a moment here, we are known for treating gamers with respect. The company's co-founder in an interview with Kotaku said this week, this is what we've been working hard toward and actually would like for us also to be known for treating developers with respect. I think a noble cause. One way the company plans to do this is through a non-obligatory crunch policy that isn't brand new, but said that the Warsaw-based CDPR plans to push it harder. He wants to make it clear that Cyberpunk 2077's developers, that even when the studio asks them to work nights and weekends, that it's not mandatory. We've been working towards some time already, he said. We've been communicating clearly that people of course, are certain moments we need them to work harder. Now, the thing is, from what I understand and what's actually quoted later in this article, as well as backed up by my sources inside of CDPR, people get paid 1.5 times their rate for working nights and times their rate. So they get double time for weekends and a time and a half for working just nights. I don't think that that's unfair. But of course, anyone who's worked anywhere knows that a request from a boss doesn't need to be mandatory for it to be something that you have to do. When probed, Iwinski couldn't promise to limit crunch to certain periods or offer specific numbers other than to say that he'd hoped making the public statement would help CDPR employees feel more comfortable. Okay, fine. But then interestingly, perhaps they also want to preempt a potential story. Here we go. After publication of our Anthem investigation last month, I don't know if it's really an investigation. You get some emails from disgruntled employees. It's not like you were sending people in under deep cover, but I digress. Which documented a turbulent development marked by mismanagement, crunch, anxiety. 4 former CD Projekt Red employees reached out to tell me that they had seen similar problems in Warsaw. 4. All right? Just to put that in perspective, 4. I don't know how many employees CD Projekt Red has, but it's probably over 1,000. 4. All right? I'm not saying they're lying. I'm not saying that their feelings are invalid. I'm not saying that what they are saying is untrue. But the overwhelming narrative here is everybody's unhappy at these companies because of crunch. I don't know if I necessarily believe that anymore. I felt that there are hundreds of parallels that could be drawn between the story of rocky development of Anthem and the story of rocky and even more rocky to become development of Cyberpunk 2077, said one former CDPR employee. Again, ex-employee, also relevant. Again, not saying it's lying, just saying it's a former employee. That you need to know. At times, I felt like you could just replace the studio name and game title, and it would all look so similar, almost identical. There have been rumors of financial trouble swirling within CD Projekt Red following the disappointing performance of last year's Thronebreaker campaign and the studio's virtual card game Gwent. Iwinski and Badowski denied these rumors, saying, "We have a big war chest." Iwinski and Badowski denied the rumors. We have a big war chest. They have also been signs that development of Cyberpunk 2077 might not be going smoothly. For example, as the employees who reached out to me told me, this year the company told staff to work through Polish holidays and that there were mandated periods for vacations rather than take off whenever you'd like. Okay, welcome to reality. CD Projekt Red's developers also have to limit their vacation to specific times in 2019. One period will be the summer right after E3, while another will be in winter. Okay, again, welcome to reality. You know, I've had my own business for a very long time and I don't really ever get to take off. But my wife's been in the private sector for her entire life. And even right now in her job, where she is the most highly trained person in that entire building, the one with the most seniority, she still has to apply for certain vacations. And there are still blackout dates where she works because of market demand. These are things that you agree to when you start working for a place. I just don't understand why people expect games development to be any different. The managers confirmed as much when I asked, "We are trying to organize vacations better to streamline the effort," said Adam Badowski. "It's a general rule in the studio, but if there are special occasions, we will obviously take care of those kind of people. And if it's our take on this year, we will see. Maybe it's good, maybe it's wrong. We'll do a survey." Okay, great. When the product takes 5 years for 4 years, when the production takes 5 years for 4 years, it's super normal, and then it's the last year, and we have special rules for that period. Okay, I don't know. Am I being unreasonable? I want to reiterate that I don't want anybody to be mistreated, but I also want to point out that these are at-will employees who signed up for this, who knew going in all of this was going to be the case. I don't believe for a second that anyone getting into development in the last 5 years doesn't clearly understand that crunch is a thing. And I guarantee you that there are loads of people that thrive under crunch, that want that double pay on weekends, that want that time and a half working nights. Not everybody is a boomer, which apparently, Kotaku is expecting that. When I was young in my 20s, I was working 100-hour weeks by choice. I wanted to make that paper. I wanted to pay off my student loans. I wanted to make my money so I could retire early. Why is that so foreign to these games? Oh, wait, I know why. So anyway, you know, perhaps it depends on the department. In conversation with Kotaku, some people have worked or have worked for Cyberpunk 2077 said they are not working much overtime just yet. One told me that this was the best period they've ever had at the company. Others have said the opposite. Strong stories suggest that some departments like QA testing, audio, and tech teams have put in particularly long hours in the lead up to important milestones. Okay. Again, so unlike many other game studios which avoid paying overtime to employees for annual salaries, CDPR pays all of its staff overtime, time and a half for nights, double time for weekends. The issue is, this is an issue that CD Projekt Red is acknowledging, although at the same time, the studio management continues to argue that crunch is necessarily a part of making games. Well, it is. Of course it is. And they also go on to mention that it's also not massively lucrative. The cost of living is lower in Poland, so salaries can range lower, and they are as they are in Western Europe and in the United States. Well, duh. That's, again, normal. See, the implication here is that, like, that the game developers are paying people less just because they're evil. That's called the going rate. I mean, there's a reason that people in New York who make flip burgers make a lot more money than people that live where I live and flip burgers, because salary is a function partly of the cost of living, especially when you're talking about entry-level jobs in particular. I mean, you're talking about, there is an absolute excellent quote about a CD Projekt Red employee at one point talking about SpaceX, saying, essentially, you think that people at SpaceX don't work crunch? You think that people at SpaceX didn't know they were going to work crunch? They're in there launching a rocket. They're in there doing something amazing, and that's something I want to be a part of. I'm paraphrasing. And I was like, yeah, dude, I get that. Like, you make the choice to work at a place like CD Projekt Red because you want to make games that can literally change lives, versus going to work for some, you know, mobile game development that's just pooping out games nonstop. So it's not everybody who's like that. You know, it's CD Projekt Red approached me because they wanted to make public commitment to their employees' health. It's a pledge that they want to be public so that employees can hold them to it. If a developer wants to opt out of crunch or take time off and their manager is resistant, perhaps they can say that they read on Kotaku that it was okay. Perhaps that will maybe work, maybe it won't work. These are people, again, reaching out. Now, the financial thing, if I could look up for that, I wonder if I could quick find that. CD Projekt Red employee SpaceX. Here we go. This is back from 2017. Okay. And the quote was so good. I wanted to find it, but I'm not sure I can in real time. I guess not. But anyway, I think I paraphrase it fine. Essentially was saying that, you know, employees, this approach is not making games for everyone. Here, in the case of CD Projekt, our SpaceX Tesla of game dev. You know, they talk about that. Like, hey, we're the big dogs. And the approaches to making games is not for everyone. Often requires a conscious effort to reinvent the wheel. Even if you personally think it already works like a charm. But you know what? We believe reinventing the wheel every friggin' time is what makes a better game. It's what creates innovation. It's what makes possible for us to say if we've worked really hard on something and we think it's worth your hard-earned cash. If you want to make games with a close enough is good attitude, you'll end up in the comfort zone and you know where magic happens. Cyberpunk 2077 is progressing as planned, but we are taking our time. So there are plenty of employees out there that don't have a problem, you know, with the crunch, because they know they're creating something amazing. The financial thing is a curious thing. I don't believe that Cyberpunk 2077 is in any real trouble here. You know, CDPR recently revealed in an interview with Kotaku that's actively trying to combat excessive crunch. In the same interview, the developer acknowledged that it faced numerous challenges when transitioning from The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt to its upcoming title, but denied rumors that it's suffering from financial constraint. Now, I think Thronebreaker was probably underwhelming for them. That doesn't mean they didn't make money. Gwent never really took off. I could have told you that a mile ahead of time. You know, everyone, that market was already saturated and dying. I mean, you know, I wonder how much money Hearthstone's even really making now. I'm sure it's some, but, you know, the transition from Witcher 3 to Cyberpunk initially was the hardest part because a lot of these things had to be defined. We have a demo which is sort of crystallizing the vision to prove that it's there. In statements that come at an important time, Kotaku's Jason Schreier, who recently wrote at length about Anthem's development problems, has revealed his report on BioWare prompted former CD Projekt Red developers to reach out to him and disclose Cyberpunk 2077's developers going through similar issues. I think that CD Projekt Red and Cyberpunk 2077 are obviously going to be just fine. They're going to make billions when they release the game. I'm concerned that if they really do have financial constraints, that they might release the game early or in an unfinished state. That would kind of be a first for these guys, but I don't see much of an issue here. Now, will Kotaku write an expose about crunch at CDPR? Yeah, I'm guessing they're going to do so in the next 7 to 14 days, and they'll probably drop it on a Thursday or a Friday because that's what they do. I don't know. It's interesting stuff to talk about. I missed this story over the weekend. I hope you did enjoy the video, though, and we'll talk to you again real soon.